it's complicated because I never hated him as much as you.
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Melo's the role he didn't want in Oklahoma.
Carmelo Anthony throws it straight away.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you're a returner, subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, like our guest tonight on the show is, we appreciate you as always. Episode 87. I don't know why. 86, I didn't really think of this, but as soon as I saw that this was going to be 87, I was like, yo, we're 13 away from 100, which is kind of a big deal. I heard somebody say one time that a podcast really doesn't know who it is, like who they are themselves, if they don't have 100 podcast episodes. So rapidly approaching that number. I know that if you've watched from episode 1 to episode 30 to 60 to 87, you'll see the fucking progression and progress and things like that. So pretty cool. But anyway, let's get to the show because our guy Melo has been fucking balling. And our guest for the episode tonight, Evan, just said that it affects his mood one way or another. So first of all, Evan, what kind of mood are you in right now?
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good-ass mood, Steve. It has been like we all said, like we didn't know what was going to happen going to the season. There were a lot of possibilities, but it's looking like one of the best possible scenarios we could have asked for going into year 19 at age 37 and a half.
Yep. Let's get into it.
Yep.
Evan's been on before, so he kind of knows the deal. So for those of you who have watched us, listened to us in the past, I'm sure you guys recognize Evan. But Evan, like you just said, this is probably one of the best stretches, or at least starts to the season we probably could have imagined. Obviously, there's been some ups and downs, but for the most part, my question to you is, are you surprised Melo's played this well this quickly? Like, we kind of thought or knew that he was going to acclimate to the team and this play style and all that shit eventually, but are you surprised it's happening this early in the season?
I'm kind of in the middle because we know our guy's a rhythm player, and it was really we always say it's about how they feed him the ball, how they incorporate him. We don't have any doubt that he can't do this. We don't look at this and be like, damn, like Melo could hit shots. Like that's not what we're saying. But I'm pleasantly surprised with how well they're incorporating him, how the offense is running, and specifically, you got to give credit to people like LeBron who really have found him better. I know, Steve. He's found him better than any player has. Like from like last year when you have like CJ McCollum going ISO and you see Melo wide open and like even Dame sometimes, if Melo's open, he's been getting the ball. And that's why, I mean, I'm not surprised that he's hitting his shots. I'm at 52% from three. A little surprised. That maybe even exceeded my expectations.
Yep.
But not surprised he's performing well.
Fair. To be honest with you, I think my long answer to this question, am I surprised Melo's played this well this quickly, is yes. We kind of knew what the situation was coming in. He's going to be way more of a spot-up shooter, not going to get as many ISO touches. And like you touched on, he's a rhythm guy. So my concern going into it, and again, we're 8 games into the season, or 7 games into the Lakers season. So very early still, but my concern was that he's not going to be able to get into a rhythm just strictly spot-up shooting. And again, of course, he's going to get a few ISO touches here and there, but I was just nervous that was going to be the case 7-8 games in. But with that being said, I am surprised just because something I've thought about in the past was Melo is one of those guys in the league and also in NBA history where he's going to get whatever look he wants. He very, very, very rarely gets blocked. When he's in isolation at the elbow or on the block or even at 3 when he's just facing up, dribbling the ball, he gets a good look at the hoop most of the time. So my mind went, okay, well, if he's always been able to get a good look, like, of course, LeBron and Russ and AD, they're going to take attention away, and he's going to get a little more open look. but my mind was saying he's already gotten looks during his whole career, and he's been pretty good at it, and obviously a top 9 scorer of all time. How much better of a look, or how much will, nobody being within 2 feet of him sometimes make that much of a difference between being 2 inches away from him? Like, we've seen him hit fucking hundreds and probably thousands of shots with a guy right in his face. So that was the one thing where people are like, no, you don't understand. He's going to get better looks. I'm like, yes, but 1, he gets his own looks whenever the fuck he wants. And 2, he's a good, kind of like a JR, he's a good bad shot shooter a lot of the times. How many times was he in New York and they would give him the ball with 4 seconds left on the shot clock and he'd somehow bank it in or get it in somehow as the shot clock went off. So that was my concern. I think long story short, I am surprised just because he's catching rhythm so quickly. And obviously he's had some time in the offseason to work on strictly that. When in Portland, he was working a little more in his isolation game, I bet. But this offseason, after he signed with the Lakers, I'm sure him and Brickley and all of his trainers were just like, all right, Mel, we know you're going to be spotting up, so let's strictly do that and work on the shooting. And there was even one play that it wasn't even a play. It was one shot that he put up where LeBron passed it to him, and he, before Melo caught it, already took the 1-2 step, but it wasn't just like a normal like step, and he like kicked his right foot out in the back really far. And it was just like, I've never seen him in a rhythm like that, strictly from 3. And I'll probably post a clip of this because it's easier to show it than to explain it. But he kicked his right foot back. Like, he was just so confident that as soon as he caught that shit, he was going to put up and it was going to go in. So, and we'll get into the whole like adapting and how he's been able to adapt in a minute or two. But that's my thoughts. I am surprised on that he was able to play this well again. 24, 28, 27 points this quickly in the season.
On not that many minutes, under 30 minutes. He's not played a game over 30 minutes. So, and
efficient as fuck, man. Efficient as hell. It's not like he's putting up 18 shots to get these like 25, 26 points. Like, he's putting up like 12, 13 shots.
His true shooting percentage has got to be top of the league right now. Like,
crazy. Elite. And some stats off the top of my head. I think this was yesterday's stats, so I don't know if they still hold true, but he's hit the 4th most threes in the NBA this season, behind like guys like Curry and shit like that. And also he has the 2nd best 3-point percentage in the league for anybody who's taken over 33s so far. Just a perfect start for Carmelo Anthony.
For real. For someone who didn't shoot a lot of threes at the beginning of his career. That we'll get into the adaptation, like you said, but it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Let's all right. Let's get into the adapting part, because I thought this part was the more interesting part. Where, like you just said, coming into the league, I'm just looking up Melo stats right now. His first 2 seasons, he shot 2.6 threes a game, 2.1 threes a game, shot 32%, 26% the year after, 24, 26. So not a shooter. Long story short. Now he is shooting, and obviously the fucking game has changed. We're not being like, oh no, Melo is, just did all this by himself. Of course he had to adjust, but now he's shooting this year 6.6 threes a game, career high, and he's shooting 52% from 3, obviously a career high. I'd like to think that number will keep up that high, but the law of averages says probably not. But anyway, yo, real quick, sorry to interrupt if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but just wanted to let you know that we have merch at Control the Narrative, and it's pretty fire, in my opinion. This is the Pixel Melo t-shirt that I'm rocking. Anything from Cuse Melo to New York Melo, Hoodie Melo. On this shirt, we got Scapegoat merch, we got Blackball merch, we got just regular Control merch. Shop CTRL the Narrative.com. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, stickers. Shop CTRL the Narrative.com. I think I got my point across. Go check it out. I bet you'll find something you like. Appreciate the support as well. Obviously, the merch sales help us fund these podcast episodes that we get to record every single week. So appreciate you. And back to the show. Even if you look at his later years in Denver, his years in New York, Houston, OKC, all these different places, what are your thoughts, Evan, on how Melo's been able to adapt, not just on this Lakers team, but on every team for the last 5-6 years?
Well, it just goes to show, first of all, how he's the antithesis of his own narrative about a player not being able to adjust. And one thing I just want to say, as someone who's watched every minute of the first 7 games of the season, you know how many post fadeaways he's taken?
Not
One.
many.
One. He's taken a single post fadeaway attempt. That is the shot that he essentially one of the trademarkers of that shot, and it was just he'd probably take like 3 a quarter back in New York at least.
Was
And
that one shot the shot at the end of the Grizzlies game where
I'm
they gave
not
it to
gonna lie,
him?
I don't even remember. I just remember it sticking out to me that I was
Got it.
like, that was the first time he did that all season.
That's wild.
And he really just it was one make, maybe a couple times.
Gotcha.
But he's adapting exactly how the Lakers need him to, and that's why he's been the reason he's the reason they won the Grizzlies game. I mean, the Rockets, they were blowing him out anyways. He was essentially one of the main reasons they beat Cleveland. He has been dominating in his role as, again, the fourth option, like back to like OKC. He's the fourth option, but he's outperforming Russell Westbrook easily. And when players like Anthony Davis and LeBron, they have like cold nights, it's just having someone who can put up that many points. It's imperative.
Yeah. And kind of touching on that whole like adapting thing with obviously on the Lakers roster and this Lakers team, we're seeing it already. This is prime Team USA Melo to me. This is somebody who is around great players. And he even mentioned it one time. I think it was during the preseason where he brought the Team USA thing up. Maybe somebody else, one of the reporters did. I don't remember, but I remember thinking like, that's a nice concept and things like that. But this is truly Team USA Melo, where he's surrounded by other great players, and all he has to do is focus on putting the ball in the hoop. And these guys make it easy for him, whether it's backdoor cuts like we've seen AD find them, or passes from LeBron when he drives in the lane, or Westbrook throwing it up court and Melo is sitting in the corner and just pulling up for three. Whatever the case is, this gives me that vibe. And with the whole adapting and shit like that, I just think he, everyone says, oh, Melo hasn't adjusted his game. All he does is these mid ranges and shit like that. And I just went through the numbers, what he was doing in the beginning of his career and what he's doing now. And again, yes, the league has changed, but Melo's changed from going from as low as 1.93s a game in 05-06 to now 6.6 in year 19. Wild shit. So he had to develop a shot. He kind of, I don't want to say mastered, but he really started becoming a great shooter in New York. And then when Phil Jackson came in, Melo became a better passer, averaged a career high in assists. So he adapted there. Then when he went to OKC, was a third, arguably fourth option there. Had to adapt there. Shit didn't work out. Not his fault. That's a whole topic for another day. Then he goes to Houston. Had to take another step back. Had to adapt to coming off the bench. 10 games, they blackballed him, and then he goes to Portland. And again, had to adapt there, playing with Dame. And so he's just been adapting his whole career. And I think somebody commented on one of our Instagram posts saying that like Melo's a chameleon and like he doesn't get enough credit for it, where he just adapts to whatever environment he's in. And he could fit on almost any single team in the NBA at this point, because he's a guy who can space the floor. He's a decent defender now. He got 4 blocks, 2 steals. Nobody wants to bring that side up. Only when somebody blows by him, and then you'll see that highlight all over Twitter of Melo's washed and shit like that.
That one play against Lou Dort, it was one play this entire season that it was an obvious defensive lapse, and he went back on the other side, hit a 3, and said, "I'm my bad, one mistake."
Yep, I remember.
And then comment section on Instagram, they're comparing him to Malik Monk, who literally does not know what he's doing on both ends of the court. But that's another thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then that's it, man. It's just like he's just been able to adapt anywhere, and just you look at any team in the league now, like who couldn't use a guy like Melo, who can obviously now shoot the fuck out of the ball, can get his own shot if you need somebody just come in off the bench and have instant offense. Like he's such a valuable piece to not only this Lakers team, but any team moving forward, which again, thinking a little far ahead, but next summer, if there was a team that he wanted to come home to and, do something like that, people are like, oh, where would he fit in? He'll find his role.
There's
He'll
not a single
find that
team in
spot
the
up
NBA.
role.
There's not a single team he can't play 25 plus minutes on.
1,000%. 1,000%. So that whole thing, and I know you and I have followed his career pretty closely, just seeing him adjust and adapt to the player he is today, when he's obviously just been shit on so much just for loving this mid-range game and not being able to do anything else, which we know isn't the truth, I think has been really cool to see.
I 100% agree.
All right, last interruption, because if you're watching or listening to the podcast for this long, you probably fuck with us. And if you fuck with us, you'll probably fuck with all the perks that you get from being a Control the Narrative member, whether that's access to our invite-only Discord where we're talking basketball all the time, or opportunities to join the next episode of Control. So whenever we need a guest, I go in our Discord, I say, yo, who's free? Who wants to hop on the next episode? And I pick from there. You get 20% off merch forever, and then you also get member exclusive merch, all by being a member. Tiers start at $2 a month. So if you fuck with us, go check out a membership, CTRLthenarrative.com, and I will see you in the Discord. All right, back to the show for good. Another thing that I think has been interesting in LA is Melo's been more consistent than he has been in Portland, Houston, and OKC, and he's had some duds this year. I'm not going to lie, I'm on basketballreference.com, so I could quickly pull it up. But
4 points against San Antonio.
Yep, San Antonio 1 for 7 from the field. He went 5 for 14 for how many points? 13 points against OKC. That game we just mentioned.
I hate to say it. You know the what those 2 games?
What?
LeBron wasn't playing those 2 games.
I thought you were going to say that he never plays well against San Antonio. That's like statistically his worst team that he plays against.
I wasn't even referring to that. But no, those were the 2 games LeBron was out. Who was controlling the ball? The guy who was controlling the ball when on OKC when Melo had his worst year up to that point of his career. And I think it shows Russell Westbrook is a great playmaker towards the basket. He's good for centers that want oops, but he's not looking for the wide open 3-point shooter unless he's totally trapped, jumps, and has to pass because he's going to get blocked. And LeBron really does that much better than Russell Westbrook. So when Russell Westbrook's the primary ball handler, Carmelo Anthony will not play well this year. And I think that's going to hold true the entire season. So I think LeBron's health is important for Carmelo just because I think Russell Westbrook is detrimental for him.
Are you becoming a LeBron fan?
It's complicated because I never hated him as much as you just because I never followed him too closely. I got involved a little after he didn't come to New York, so I wasn't salty about that. I was too young. But I'm appreciative. You know what I mean? You cannot like things about a person, but you have to like be real with them. And if they do something right, you got to give credit. So I'm just giving credit where credit is due.
Fair enough. Of course. So why do you think he's been more consistent in LA than the teams in the past?
So I mean, like we say a million times in this podcast, it's all rhythm, and they're feeding him when he should be fed. And like you could see in Portland and on OKC, it would be like the take turns. Like I go 1-on-1, then you go 1-on-1, and then it's your turn, and it's my turn. And then sometimes, like you noticed a lot last year, Carmelo wouldn't get the ball for 7 straight minutes. So then as soon as he touched and not even shoot the ball, he wouldn't touch the ball for 7 minutes. So when he would touch the ball, he'd put up a shot. He'd put up any shot. And I mean, as you get older, he's not as good as a bad shot shooter, if that makes sense, as he was in the old days. So now he's not forcing anything. He knows he's going to get his shots. He's trusting his teammates a lot more, and you can just see it in the way he plays.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think which game was it that he had 7 shots in the first half and 1 shot in the second half, and like
that was the first game.
Was it the first game?
First game, yeah.
Yeah, it was versus the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me set off red flags where I was like, fuck. Like I
was worried. I can't lie.
I just feel like, why is Melo more consistent? I think there's also different ways for players, especially Melo, to get in rhythm. Obviously, shooting a few times and seeing the ball go through is one way to get a rhythm. But I also feel like Melo gets a rhythm if he grabs a rebound a certain way, if he makes a good defensive play and he's just feeling good about himself. Because at the end of the day, what is a rhythm? It's just like, yo, you're feeling good. Like when you take the shot, it'll go in. So I just feel like Melo being consistent in LA is just the fact that he is so bought in to the system and to this team and to this opportunity that he knows his role, and whether that's, score 28 points one night, or go ahead and just focus defensively. And if Westbrook has it cooking somehow, then, they'll go through him and Melo needs to focus more on rebounding, whatever the case is. I just feel like he's so much more bought in than he was in Portland. Like, yes, they thought like, yo, we could make a run in Portland if, everything aligns this way. And OKC, I bet at one point they thought, yo, we could be a legit championship contender, and they were going to be. I don't care what anybody says, before Andre Roberson got hurt. And it's wild to like put that sentence together. But I just feel like he's so fucking bought in and just like, yo, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. He's like the perfect teammate right now. And I just feel like that is helping his game out, because when you're feeling good, when people are smacking you on the back for grabbing a rebound or boxing someone out or getting 4 blocks in the game, like you're going to feel good on the other end of the court. So I just feel like that's transferring over personally.
It's to an even greater extent, but it's like Blake Griffin in Brooklyn. Like, you saw all the stats. Like, he didn't dunk in 2 years. He was sick of Detroit. I mean, like, why would he enjoy being on that team? But he's surrounded by 3 superstars, and he knew it's also, he has a sense of, like, Carmelo has a sense of responsibility now. Like, he's playing with like people who are used to winning, and like a lot more than unfortunately he has. And there's, like, he knows, like, there's only a couple years left. Like, this is his time. Like, he's really, like, just like you said, he's locked in, dialed in. And also, we got to give some credit to Staples Center. I did not even think about how much they would love him. They fucking love him.
They've been wanting him for years, first off.
Yeah,
2014 or 15.
Yeah. It's so I think that plays into it. I mean, you could see his stats at home too. He's been playing better at home. So
I wonder if I can quickly find that on Basketball Reference. I don't want people to just be sitting. All right, here we go. Ready? I got it ready. At home, again, we're 7 games in.
Yeah.
So, and they played 5 games at home. So it's not like they played 1 or 2 games and he's just had, a few nice games.
All 3 of his 23+ point outings in Staples Center.
Yep. He's shooting in LA at Staples Center 57% from the field and 67.6% from 3. He's making over 2/3 of his threes in LA.
That is unbelievable. Yeah.
Versus the road games, 28% from the field and 0.08% from 3. And again, that's 2 games on the road. We're 7 games in, but still, I think that's an early indicator. And he's putting up 20 points a game, even at home.
Yeah, like you said, you take away basically that like San Antonio game, and he's averaging like 20 a game basically. It's crazy.
How wild is that?
It's, again, he exceeded, even like we're the most, like, no one trusts in him more than we do in our community, and he exceeded our expectations.
Yeah. Again, it's, and like you mentioned it before, it's not like we don't think he could do this. It's that we didn't and don't think that this will be like, because
he's doing this in a limited role. He's averaging 23 points per 36 minutes. It's great. I was looking at the stats the other day. He's per minute he's scoring more than Russ and AD, and he's like just under LeBron. It's like if he were playing, he's playing like 10 minutes less than them a game. If it were on par and he was starting like he should be, but I really think it would be like an unequivocal like big 4. Like the media wouldn't even be able to refuse it.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before, where it's like, yo, you look at a guy like LeBron and Chris Paul and what they're doing at their age, and it's like, damn, like, why isn't Melo putting up those numbers? One word: opportunity. That's literally it. You're telling me Go ahead.
They're playing the contracts, like
Exactly.
however you phrase it.
Exactly.
Carmelo's a veteran, a vet minimum player. You're not playing him 33 minutes a night. I mean, like that's their logic, which is ridiculous. But it's like Avery Bradley should not be playing 6 more minutes than Carmelo Anthony. No, I don't care positions. I don't care about alleged defensive perceptions. It shouldn't be happening. It's criminal.
Yeah, I also think that some of that might be like, yo, we don't want to like burn these guys out in the regular season.
I get that, but if you're going to be playing
not
Anthony
trying to
Davis
defend Vogel whatsoever, not trying to defend Vogel, but I hear your point about like that, and it's just crazy because if Melo is averaging 36 minutes a game, like you said, he'd be putting up what 23 points a game.
Yeah, between 22, something like that, around
23. So it's just opportunity, and we see it, and we know that he's capable of it. It's not like not to throw shade or take shots at Jordan Clarkson, but you know, we don't know if Jordan Clarkson, if he got those extra 10 minutes or those extra 5 shots, if he'd be able to keep up the efficiency and create his own shot.
Under 40% this year.
He's what?
He's shooting under 40% this year, I believe. I just checked. It's just the like you said, opportunity is the biggest like variable, and so many NBA careers are made and broken by opportunity. It's crazy.
1000%. You think about shout out Matt, the Knicks fan. Think about a guy like Alonzo Trier. Not saying he's the best player on earth, but like you're telling me he can't play a Cameron Payne type role on a team in the NBA?
He could be like the Clippers starting point guard if he wanted to be.
Cleveland? Over Sexton and Garland, you think?
No, I said Cleveland. Wait, sorry. So. I meant Clippers. Sorry.
All right. We'll go back. We'll go back. You might have said Clippers. Maybe I'm just joking. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
I'm talking about like Eric Bledsoe, who's averaging like who's really falling off. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, man. One last thing I wanted to touch on, just because I think it's kind of funny, and we did touch on in the beginning, but I feel like this will resonate with a lot of people, so I want to expand a little on this, especially in this community. Talk to me or tell me about how Melo's play affects your mood. Like you just said, I'm in a great mood this week. Like I know we say like joking and shit like that, but there are times where I think I tweeted like a week ago and Melo had a great game, and I woke up and I'm like, yo, this is how I'm walking down the street today. And I was like a guy just like walking happily, just like a dumbass. So when Melo does well, and obviously we're on the East Coast, so we have to stay up for these games. So by the time we go to sleep, does it help you sleep better? When you wake up in the morning and you see those control game recaps, or are you like, yo, this is exactly what I needed to start my day? Like, just how does it affect your mood?
I mean, it just there's not much to it, bro. It's we are so invested in him. Like we're like it's a Tuesday night. I'm a college student with a bio exam tomorrow, and I'm happily taking an hour to talk about this man just at his performance. So like, yeah, if when he plays well, I'm pretty fucking happy. And just because, I mean, I'm just grateful that I call him the oldest player in the league because Haslam hasn't played a game in 3 years. He's still on the roster, and Iguodala is the only other player older than him, and he's averaging like 3.5 points a game or something. I don't consider that like, you know what I mean? Carmelo's the oldest real player in the league, and we just get to see like his career could have ended 3 years ago. It shouldn't have, like just based on the narrative, the reason we're here today. And I mean, we're just seeing like day after day, Sports Center, Bleacher Report posts, vintage Melo going off again. That's my favorite thing. I always say for the last 5 or so years, every time Carmelo's had a good night, they call him vintage Melo.
2 times a week he's vintage Melo, which
literally,
is weird. I don't know how that works.
It's not an exaggeration. If you follow any major sports thing, like you said, it's hilarious. It's literally an inside joke of myself at this point. But yeah, like I just can't believe we still get to be seeing him put up 20 points a game in 2021. So yeah,
18 years after he was drafted, which is wild. And obviously in 2 months it'll be almost 20 years. Great point though. Like obviously, we have this platform where we talk Melo and watch Melo and analyze Melo and all this shit. And I don't think we take it for granted. And I'm not saying we do. I'm not saying I am. But sometimes when you really step back and you're like, yo, this guy is one of the greatest players in NBA history. Forget about scores. We know that players, I don't care what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing this shit in year 19. And LeBron, I think after this is all said and done, me personally, I'll be able to look back and say this was cool that they got to play together. But right now, I'm just not at that point yet. I just feel like what he's doing, I think who tweeted it to me or somebody commented, maybe texted me. I don't remember. My mind's been everywhere lately. Somebody said some shit like only one or two players in year 19 or later put up 15 points a game or 20 or something like that. I think Kobe was like the only person to do it. Or the list is very short.
I bet it was like Jordan because on the Wizards. I think Kobe retired at like 37.
Was it Jordan who did that?
It was probably Jordan or Malone or something.
Did Jordan play 19 years?
Well, he missed a season. He didn't play that many years, but
Yeah.
he played until he was 38, I believe.
Yeah. I don't think he played. He played 15 because he like retired for a few years and all that shit.
That's what I mean.
So not year 19, 19th season.
Okay. Gotcha.
19th season, I think, or later. There's like one or maybe I think the list is only Kobe.
Oh, then yeah, because you're talking about because he was drafted out of high school, it makes sense.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. Got it.
So anyway, the fact that we can watch him do the shit and just seeing him get all of his flowers from us, from the people at the Staples Center, from all these accounts sucking him off, doing the whole vintage Melo shit, and shit like that. It's just really, really cool. And it's something I'm not trying to take for granted because obviously, when Melo hits a three, my mind goes, yo, you need to tweet that highlight out. You need to tweet that. Yo, what are you going to write about it? Shit like that, where sometimes I just like to take a step back and be like, yo, like, this is cool. So.
And yeah, like you said, it's so nice to see other people besides ourselves appreciate him. Like I'm just still so like in shock of Staples Center's reaction of just how positive it is because I went to like just going to the first return game like in 2017 when Melo came back to the Garden as part of the Thunder. Half the arena, like, were you at the game?
Yeah, I was there.
There around me at least, there were a lot of people booing at. It was like I was like in shock. It was, and I mean there are of course a lot of people cheering, but just too many people booing. And then when he came back in Portland last year or whatever season it was,
2020, yeah.
Yeah, they were just going they were going crazy. And now you can see like he's building a greater appreciation these last 2-3 years. And we're both going to be at that Knicks Lakers game in MSG. I think it's going to be wild love for him.
Yeah, one, because there's fucking Lakers fans everywhere, and two, obviously,
I think the Knicks fans just appreciate him as a player and everything more. They were just, I mean, yeah, if people were stupid.
100%, man. It's gonna be if you're listening or watching this far and you're gonna be at Knicks Lakers and you want to do something, whether it's like pregame, postgame, or whatever the case is, hit me on Twitter. And if like enough people hit me up, then like, I'll try to put something together. Been thinking about that a little bit because it's coming up in like 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So want to try to, obviously there's going to be some Melo fans there. I bet some who follow us because there's a lot of people in New York. But anyway, if you're watching or listening, all this so far, you obviously fuck with us. And then if you're going to be at that Lakers-Knicks game, tweet me at Steve Tsak. And if a few people hit me up that watch this, listen to it, and then like, yo, I'm going to be there, might have to put something together. Anyway, Evan, bro, appreciate you hopping back on. You've been on a few times, so always good convo with you. You know that. But you also know that before we let our guests go, we give them the floor to control a narrative. Doesn't have to be Melo related, doesn't have to be basketball related, doesn't have to be sports related. So if you have one, I will give you the floor to control a narrative.
We're sticking with Melo. This week's too good to stray away from Melo. It's just the only thing I have to say is it is not a big three. If anything, it's a big three without Westbrook, but it is not a big three. It's a big four. And I don't think any ESPN analysts can make a claim to refute that, at least at this far. So that's all I have to say.
Why? Why do you think? Just give me like 1 or 2 more sentences just for people to
because
to
his impact has been equal to the Russell Westbrook, and he's obviously part of their big three that you see on social media and everything. And like Carmelo has been the winning factor in 2 out of the 7 games already as a vet minimum player at 37 and a half years old. So yeah,
the facts. Evan, my guy, always good convo, always facts spit, talked and spit when you're on the show. So appreciate you for always hopping on, always being down to hop on, for always being active in the Discord. It's always good convo.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Good luck on that bio test tomorrow. Please pass
Thank
that
you,
shit
bro.
so I don't hear it tomorrow night like, yo, I fucking came on the podcast and then I failed that shit. So please just do well for us, all right?
Yes, sir. All right, you have a
Peace,
good
homie.
night, bro.
Stay mellow.